Have you been thinking at all any more about The Legend of Bagger Vance?
I actually have a lot.
Yeah.
There were 3 or 4 times this week that I was like, dang, I just thought of a really good analogy for golf. And I thought, like, wow, if God were to teach me something, how would he do it? And I was thinking about tons of different, like, analogies and stuff. And it made me want to revisit it, actually. I thought about it 2 or 3 times.
I'm Bo.
I'm Dan.
And tonight we are reviewing 1992's The Last of the Mohicans. Any movie news that you've heard about or seen?
I did a video a couple months ago about the new Marvel movie, Thunderbolts.
Okay.
And I keep getting ads for it, so I know it's coming out soon. That movie looks so stupid.
Yeah, this is actually what came to mind. The Fantastic Four official trailer dropped today. I gotta say, very underwhelmed. I know people are going crazy. The aesthetic is cool. It looks, appearance-wise, it looks kind of cool. Like the retro future kind of aesthetic. But honestly, maybe this is just all trailers. But after I watched it, I was like, what is this about? I just don't really have any desire to see it at all.
Yeah.
It's just going to be another superhero movie. Like, there's a line in the trailer like, it has to be us. We have to save everyone, or something to that effect. It's just like, we know. Who else is going to save them? Who else is going to save the world besides the movie of the characters it's about?
Oh, no way. That was like my issue with Thunderbolts too. Have you seen the trailer for it?
Yeah, I have.
There's a bunch more now. And pretty much they consist of them looking dramatically at each other, something exploding, a bad guy showing up, and then some stupid line, like a dumb joke.
Yeah.
And then it goes back and it's just like, Thunderbolts. Are you stupid enough to keep watching Marvel movies? I think so.
We're going to keep making them too.
To what, Bo?
I don't know, until the cows come home, I guess.
Until you stupid morons stop paying us for slop.
Well, that's the truth. Until people start paying for it, the market will never change.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
And I've been hearing things about the movie industry. There's kind of some scary things, right? As far as, like, when I say scary, I take that with a grain of salt. I mean, like, cinemas. I was always talking cinemas being shut down, movie houses, theaters. So there's that, because if movies don't make money, then less are made, less are shown in theaters, and less theaters stay open. So there's always that scare, which I'm a huge theater goer. I would go see every movie in the theater if there was something worth going to the theater to see.
Mm-hmm. Which
at this point been going to movies that have already come out via the Megaplex $5 Real Deal. Like, I went and saw Dune 1 and 2 again in theater this last month with my brother, just because it's like I'd rather go pay and see that than see the slop that's coming out.
Yep.
And because I love going to the theater, I love having some popcorn, maybe some candy, being in a dark room with a great sound system and a huge screen.
It's such a different vibe as to watching it on your couch in your living room with like random things coming in, like just going, and the expectation is that you sit there quietly and you watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
Is a very different feeling. I totally agree.
So I don't want those to shut down. I don't ever want that to not be a thing. But there's talks like Disney keeps losing money on movies. Other people are not making as much. Like, a blockbuster is not what it used to be, right? Like, you can't expect the kind of return on, like, we're going to get this movie star, we're going to make this movie with this director, and we're going to make millions and millions and millions and hundreds of millions of dollars. It's like, nope.
I think a lot of people wanted to, like, chalk up the decline of movies only to wokeness, but this was an issue before wokeness was ever a thing. Last 10-ish years, like, what has come out that's been, like, mind-blowing? That's been, like, a very good movie.
So that was at 2015.
Because Interstellar came out in, like, 2014?
I'm not sure.
And then I think
the Dune movies came out. Those are pretty good.
I think that Dune might be a slight exception.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love them, but I see other people liking them, and I don't have any, like, major problems with them. They're just not my favorite.
Yeah. Hunt for the Wilder People, that's one of a favorite of mine. That came out in 2016.
That is a good one. I was just thinking about all the movies that I watched, like, that would come out. Like, pretty much Disney or Pixar would come out with a new movie every year since I was a kid.
Right.
And you, as soon as you'd see the trailer for it, you were super hyped. You're like, yes, this is gonna be freaking awesome.
I just want to jump into our initial thoughts because I actually have a lot of non-spoiler thoughts about this one, but I'll let you go first. What do you think? What do you
Not gonna lie, this might be the most overhyped movie I have ever seen.
Who overhyped it for
it
you?
might be the most average movie ever.
That's a hot take.
I thought it was so meh. Almost the whole time. The only scene that I loved was the fort. The fort getting bombarded and the mortars and like the whole negotiation.
Spoilers.
Oh, that's true. Whoops. That part was good. Anyway, those are my initial thoughts. Didn't love it.
That's it.
Well, I don't want to give all my things that are
Okay,
spoilers.
I'm gonna get into some of these things that I think really make you gonna swallow your words.
Please.
Let's just talk for a second about the opening scene. Not only are they some of the most pretty shots, they're also covered in credits. At opening credits, there's amazing shots in the opening of this movie. And even with credits over them, they still look amazing. Which I kind of forgot. Or maybe just took for granted how pretty this movie is. You go watch movies now and you come back to this. Oh my goodness. So beautiful. And I'm going to get to this too. I want to talk about shadows and light, and about the look and feel of the era. I think the look and feel of the era, I don't think I've seen a movie that looks and feels like I'm actually in the time period, like this time period specifically, colonial America, that's better than this. Like, it feels like it looks like it. I mean, it almost tastes like it, like you're there on the frontier. You're actually with British people in proper uniform. I mean, like, movies like The Patriot, like they do good, but I think this is like it's another level up. And part of that is this light and shadow thing. The cinematography is spectacular, and what's cool about it is they're not afraid of shadows. So you watch a lot of movies, or like you watch a soap opera, everything's very bright and well lit, right? You watch this movie and you're inside like the first British officer office they go into, and it almost feels like the only light coming in is from the windows. Like there's kind of the people standing behind the officer or behind his desk are kind of in the dark. Like it feels like not grungy, but like dingy. Like, yeah, we don't have electricity. It's just whatever light we can have or candles, and
it's not
things
like,
kind of fade off into the dark.
It's not like those movies where like they light a candle and all of a sudden everything is bright.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so throughout the whole movie, scenes at night, scenes inside interiors like that, like they're not the filmmaker and the cinematographer, they're not afraid to let things fall off into the dark, which I really appreciate. Now more and more with cameras, they're trying to make them better and better at being able to shoot like a dynamic range, which is like really bright lights and really dark shadows, and be able to see everything exposed properly. Really, like this film shows like you don't need to see everything. Like that's the point. It's a choice. Like how much should we show? How much should we light? How much should we let just fall off into the darkness? And I just love that about this movie. It brought realism to it. It helped sink you into the era, because you felt like, yeah, there's the only light that we can produce, and that's pretty much it. And the light from the sun and the stars and the moon. I just marked down there the last thing, and we can just get, maybe jump into spoilers. It was one of the first shots after like the credits. There's a carriage rolling across a bridge on a river, and it's just the bridge is reflected in the water and the sky and everything. It's just a nice static shot. It's just very, very pretty. Kind of forest glade area all around the river and the bridge, and it just looked amazing. I don't know if you remember that shot. Apparently you didn't impress you very much.
No.
But it was very beautiful.
I think when I watch a movie and you watch a movie, we see very different things. I didn't care about any of that.
Right.
Zero. Although I will give the devil his due that Bo makes an excellent point in terms of cinematography and film value because it's very well shot. And that is something that drives me crazy when I watch newer movies is that you watch them and it doesn't even look real.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't picture yourself in that scenario. Like when you see a picture of some place and the picture looks way too good, and then you go to that place and you look at the picture and you're like, this isn't what the picture looks like. It's like getting catfished, right?
Right.
No one wants to be catfished. And this movie didn't do any of that. You can tell, like you said, the lighting is all natural, or at least it feels that way.
Right.
And all the scenes, there's no CGI, none, which is great. And all the scenes that are filmed outside, at least I think, I mean, the waterfall's obviously a set that they made. But pretty much everything is filmed in a really cool set. And so...
Yeah, really cool on location.
Yes. So... And then, like you said, with all the outfits, they're like awesome. I loved the scene when the French. Honestly, that was like my favorite scene actually. Besides the mortars blowing up and everyone dying, that was cool. My favorite scene was when the French captain and the British captain were there.
The generals.
That was sick.
Yeah, in front of the fort, they're doing the surrender.
And they're doing the parlay with like the negotiations. I thought that was awesome. If the whole movie was like that, I would have loved it.
Why was it awesome to you? Tell me more. Well,
So-
this is spoilers now. Sorry, we jumped into spoilers.
Yes.
If you haven't seen Last of the Mohicans, please go watch it. We're gonna jump into spoilers now.
Let me give what I liked about it first, because I have a lot of things I don't like.
Okay.
Almost all my notes are things that bothered me.
Okay, go ahead.
I did like the struggle with the colonialists being recruited by the British, but then being like, what about our people who live here? And the British having to kind of negotiate that, and then them escaping. I thought that was fun.
families.
Yeah, I thought that dynamic was fun, and I thought the whole movie was gonna be like that. I thought the whole movie was this guy going to try to like get colonialists to rebel against the British. I was excited for that. Like I was in there, I'm like, yes, let's go.
Want the revolution,
and then it ended up turning,
huh?
yes, and then it ended up turning into a freaking romance. Oh, I didn't want to watch a romance. I wanted to watch some British people get their freaking heads blown off by colonials, dude.
Colonials,
Not by the French. I want the French to win. So I did love like the classic American like feel that was like, what about our people? Like we're not being represented. Like what we live here too.
Right. There's a great line from one of the guys where he says, what does he say? If they can set aside their laws if and when they want, then I will not be a part of that. Like basically is what he says. Yeah. I'll look up the line, but it's really good. He's like, I
did too. That little scene when
like,
they're all by the fire talking about everything and they're giving their thoughts back and forth. I love that scene. It was great. It was a very good scene.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the extent of what I liked. And the fort and the mortars were freaking badass. I love seeing the mortars get lit.
Yeah, so the fort's getting attacked by the French.
The fort looks so cool. The fort looks so freaking awesome. Now,
talk about a lot of background actors, a lot of production value, a lot of special effects and pyrotechnics.
Which, if you were going to ask me purely on basis of like how the movie is filmed, it's a great movie. Great movie. Tremendous movie. Now, when you ask me about the story, I'm going to give it a fat thumbs down. Didn't like the story. So, here's a few things. I thought it was really slow. The slow burn was killing me. It was so slow. And at the end, there's almost no resolution to anything, which bothered me so much. Because sometimes slow burns are good when you have to like get all of the information, like the movie we watched last week. It's a bit of a slow burn. And then finally at the end, you're like, oh, I get it. This movie was like, what? I don't know. I didn't like it.
I guess the for this movie, it would be this slow burn or this climax and ending would be like the love story triumphs and they get to be together. They both survive.
Yeah. Which, not my cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love romance movies. I think they're really boring and cliche. I think romance can enhance things, but when it's just romance and that's what it felt like, it just felt dumb.
Really? All the killing and all the fighting,
that was
just felt just like romance?
Well, it was cool, but it felt purposeless because the only reason he was sticking around was for her. That was it. And it's like, bro, you gotta have like a bigger goal than just getting her. Like your whole life can't be about getting a girl. You've got to, and like that is not a very compelling story to me.
Well, I think part of his story is too that he's seen his father's people, well, his people die. His parents have been killed, and then he sees his adopted father's people get killed out. With that, it's like it's obviously very from the beginning. He's very defiant. He's very defiant of being like, I'm not joining the militia.
Yeah.
Like, why would I subject? I'm not subject to much at all, right? The guy's like accusing him, like, you call yourself a loyal subject of the crown. Like, I don't call myself subject to much at all. He's like, I'm not buying into this. I'm not going to be a servant.
And I liked that scene. And I thought that that was going to be his attitude. And I thought he was going to fight against the British.
Well, he sticks up to him a lot throughout the movie. Even to the general in the fort, he sticks up to him when he's like, hey, these people have been attacked and you need to let them go because that was the deal. And the guy's like, no. He's like, no, you need to do it. Like, I'm not backing down. I don't care if you're a general or not. Yeah. We had terms and we're leaving.
And I thought that attitude was going to keep going. And he was going to get his colonial buddies to, like, lead an armed resistance and, like, flip something. But at the end of the movie, like, he accomplishes nothing besides getting the girl. And that really pissed me off. I was like, I wanted there to be something because he's a cool character. It's a very cool concept.
Right.
Like a man raised...
see him being like a more like William Wallace character.
Yes.
Like, he rallies the troops to be like, hey, we're gonna be free.
Or something.
Right.
Like anything. Here's another thing. This is a minor detail. But none of them had good accents. Their accents were terrible. Horrible.
You say them. Who are you referring to?
The Americans.
Americans.
They were literally British subjects. They should be talking like this. They should be talking like other British people.
Well, what is it, year
1757.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a unique American accent yet. And they're in New York even. So if you're going to do any accent, it should, hey, I'm walking here.
Well, no, not really, because that wouldn't be around yet.
No, exactly. And so the American accent definitely wouldn't be around.
Well, no, the one that I was talking about earlier, he had an accent. It may not have been a good one. Maybe you didn't like it, but he had one when he's like, I will not be part of that yoke. And he's talking about like them changing the law. When
his was terrible. It like attempted.
It was definitely an accent.
It was attempted. I thought the natives had cool accents. Actually, I thought they did like a decent job there. That's a minor nitpick. Whatever. Sure. If it was a good story, I wouldn't have cared.
It was a good story. Okay.
I really wouldn't have. I wouldn't have. This would not be a nitpick if I was like, it's a good story, so I can look past it. The kissing scene was so stupid. I could not stand the kissing scene, bro. It was so dumb. Like, he talked to her. I guess he saved her life, so...
Saved her life.
Maybe you have...
a conversation under the stars where he tells her and kind of sweet talks her about his people and what they believe about the stars.
Yeah.
And, like, why he didn't bury the people. They were actually his friends.
Yeah.
He's like, I was doing it because if the people tracking us will know we've come this way.
Yeah.
And then they have their traveling time.
Yeah. And then he just, like, grabs her, doesn't say a thing, and just pulls her over and just starts macking. And I was like, dang.
I think he did more than that.
Right after homegirl friend zones this nerd who burns himself for her, and the fort is under attack. It's like, geez, lady. Dude, you're brutal.
Dude, have you ever heard the term smoke him if you got him? Like,
fair enough, you know?
You might not get another chance at this. The fort is under attack, bro. This might be our last chance.
That's fair. But again, minor issue. I did laugh out loud in that scene, though. Yeah. You heard me. I was just like, this is so silly. Okay. Yeah, overall, I thought the story was really weak. I was really interested in it until he kind of started to just hang out with her, and he ends up just being her little protector.
Well, he rallies the troops and gets them to break out of the fort and helps them escape.
He doesn't really do that, though.
Well, they do the meeting.
They do that kind of on their own.
Well, they do the meeting, and he tells them about what's going on. And he tells them, like, I'll meet you wherever, and we'll get you out. He doesn't show it, but then he comes and gets arrested. And they're like, what are you doing? Why are you arresting my son? He's like, I helped John and the others escape.
Right.
So it's implied, but not shown.
And up to that point, I'm with him.
Mm-hmm.
After that,
we're in like the third act by then.
After that, he loses me. I'm just not even interested in his character at all at that point, because he just wants to hang out with this chick the whole time.
Well, he wants to go save her because he knows Mohawk's after her, Magwa's after her, and he's supposed to be get hung for treason.
Yeah, sedition.
Sedition, right?
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Yeah. We can edit that.
All right, was that everything on your list?
No.
Oh, wow.
I thought the suicide at the end was so stupid. I was mad at that scene. Like, and the guy just runs off by himself, gets killed, of course. And then the girl,
Who says the guy? He's talking about Uncas, the son of
Uncas, runs off and gets killed because he tries the 1v10. They Crow? What are they?
No, they're
Mohawk?
Huron.
Yeah, the Huron. He just gets wrecked. Of course he gets wrecked. Of course he does. And I understand that like you have to have stakes or something, but you don't go in 1v10. It makes no sense to the story. It makes no sense that he would do that.
So you're saying if you were Uncas and they're taking your girl and they're leaving, and your stepbrother's down there still with his girl, and your dad's right here, you're saying, I'm waiting till everyone gets here. We'll go attack together.
Obviously.
Okay.
Obviously.
I agree.
You obviously don't go 1v10 and you don't attack them from the front. They all want this girl back, obviously. That's like their whole mission. The whole mission has been about the girls, which is stupid. But whatever. That's the whole mission. At least then he goes in by himself. He gets killed. Fine. Dang, he dies. That's sad.
Not a lot of women on
And then the girl, and they just let the girl kill herself. They're just like, just let her die. And she jumps off the freaking cliff.
Do you think someone would jump off the cliff? Because I wouldn't. I'd be staying away from the cliff.
No, she walks over. I mean, she's
well, right. She starts scooting over, but like, would you be like, she's not gonna jump?
I wouldn't have let her go if I was the savage
well, you're
native
just fighting another guy
who just won her. Freaking the chief just gave her to
just
me.
Fighting someone though, right?
Yeah, no, but I've got guards. It's a 1v10, right? There's like 10 guys behind that are holding on to her. They're just like, okay, go to the edge. That's fine. That's totally fine.
They got caught up in the fight.
And then
doing their job.
Looking over, and then she jumps, and then 5 seconds later, they show up and save the day. It's so dumb. I was like,
maybe she just wouldn't want to live if he's dead. You know, she fell for him. Literally, she fell for him.
She did. Literally.
I'm not talking about literally in 2025. Literally, I'm talking about the actual
she jumped
sense.
off the cliff.
She jumped off the cliff
and she died.
She fell.
And it's so lame. And then they show up and they save the day. But what did they save the day for? Literally, so that they could look at each other, sensually, and kiss each other's neck. It was stupid. And the motif got so old by the end.
Okay.
Dude, it repeats itself so many times.
It does repeat itself a lot.
And I actually like to have a motif repeat itself so that you can have like an iconic song. Like you think of Jurassic Park, you think of Star Wars. Those are iconic motifs. This one is like too much. It's that guy who keeps telling the same joke over and over and over, and you're like, dude, it was funny the first 10 times.
Yeah, you need to like have a couple more songs in there.
Yeah.
To break it up.
Exactly. Use it like 2 or 3 times max.
I think movies use them more than that, probably. But
yeah, I don't know. It just felt like a lot. That was the only theme that you can even think of.
All right, well,
I will say I think that they did a really good job on the Indians. Like they looked awesome.
The Native Americans, because they were actually natives.
Yeah, they looked.
You said they did a good job, like casting.
They did. No, they like painting, making them really scary, making them perceived as like savages. It was awesome. The part where the British are leaving the fort, and the Indian turns. What's his name? Magua turns to the French guy and he's like, "My tomahawk's not red, dog." And the French guy's like, "We just made a deal. What's He's using his French brain, and Magua's like, "No, my tomahawk needs to be red, and I'm gonna tear this guy's heart out."
Yeah.
And they go and they like that whole scene where they're like crawling in the forest and they're getting ready, dude. That was
painted like half black.
They look so cool.
Yeah, it's like nose down.
They look freaking awesome, and they just charge in. Like that scene was so cool. I think the makeup, the scenes, the whole like
visually.
Yes, it was super pretty
visually
to watch.
Very pretty.
So pretty.
Yeah, and like I noticed too, there was not a lot of like camera angles and cutting, which I really appreciate. I mean, sometimes there's a reason for it, a need for it, but I like when you can keep the camera kind of in one place and not always have to show someone's face and then cut to someone's face and cut someone's face. It's just like, no, we can just kind of let this rest, and you can act and be here. You can walk in, or you can just be talking with your back turned even to the camera and still be talking, or you can be off screen and we don't even see you, but we see the reaction of the person you're talking to. We don't need to have cuts.
I totally agree. I like the fighting too. The fighting felt really realistic too. Like
Very
they shoot the muskets, you see the smoke fly out. Someone gets hit, you see the blood, and then it takes a long time to reload the musket. So a lot of times they would just run in and just whack them,
combat,
or they take out their like axe and they just and it's such an interesting like clash of civilization because you have the British that are so organized and proper, and they're walking with their perfect outfits totally in unison.
Yeah.
And the natives just run out, no shirt, loincloth, and an axe and just whack them over the head. And it's like, dang, that is so crazy. Like,
yeah, it's very brutal.
Yeah. But like the Clash of Civilization, I thought they did such a good job at that. I thought it was really, really well done.
It is an interesting time of war because like you have that very powerful rifle in range and things. But then as soon as it's gone, it's like, shoot, I'm left to my hands, like to fight you if you just run up on me. Because what are you going to do, right? You can't reload. And it's so long and awkward, the gun is. But yeah.
I thought it was
That's why like pirates a lot of times, I heard they actually would, when they attacked ships, like ship to ship, when they actually got close enough to go onto another ship, they'd be carrying like 6 pistols tied together on them so they could be like,
yeah. That'd be so crazy.
Because like you can't reload.
Right.
So you just have 6 loaded pistols.
It's not an option.
Yeah.
I thought that it was really cool that what annoys me is that we try to brown wash history. We try to make it seem like everyone who wasn't white was perfect and that the only bad people in history were the white men. I like this movie because it clearly shows that they're not good actors anywhere, right? Like the British are showing up, they're being awful to the militia, they're not treating people well. The French are there, clearly trying to destroy the British and be awful. The natives are there, they're actually savage and they want to kill people, but they also want to defend their own. Like there's lots of competing interests, and it's not as simple as the natives were a peaceful people who were in harmony with nature and built canoes and smoked pipes, and that's all they did until the white men came and made them fight. And it's like, no, that is not how it goes.
Yeah, or even the opposite, right? Or like, no, the brown people are bad and the white people are good. The white people are not good. Like, I mean, there can be good people on both sides, but it's just a matter of reality, which is it's an individual basis. It doesn't matter what color your skin is.
I liked that because I felt like they didn't pull any punches with making the British look good or the French look good or the Indians look good. It's just like I think they tried their best to just be like, this is what it was like. And from like a historical standpoint, I think I liked that a lot about the movie. Is that you, like you said, it makes you feel like you're going back to that time period and it feels accurate. However it was, I don't know, but that one felt like if someone was to say, what's a good like representation of the 1750s, I'd be like, Last of the Mohicans feels very 1750-esque.
Yeah, definitely.
Besides the accents.
Okay, and rather than just jump through a bunch of things I liked or didn't like, I'm gonna just pose these questions again, and we'll just kind of walk through them. Whose story is it? What do they want? What do they need? And do they get it? So when I say what do they want, what do they need? Like, for instance, we did Tombstone. Wyatt Earp wants to just move on with his life, not be a lawman, make money, go with his brothers, be successful, not be a lawman. But what he kind of needs to be is be a bad A lawman. So that's when I say what do they want, but what do they need? Kind of like that authentic self we talked about with Bagger Vance.
You start.
Okay, so this is whose story is it? Nathaniel,
obviously.
Right. What does he want? I mean, he's very obstinate. He's very maybe obstinate's not the right word. He's very what did I say earlier? Defiant. Yeah. To authority. I think it seems clear that what he wants initially is just like, hey, I just want to be here with my family, live out here with my friends on the frontier, make sure we look out for each other, and just live. Just be free. And that's why people lived out on the frontier, like it says in the movie, right? Because that's the only place for poor people, if they wanted to be free, is to go out to the frontier. I think, going forward from there, if you want me to keep talking what he needs, I guess,
Korra.
yeah, I guess he needs a woman in his life so he can have posterity.
We all need some Korra.
Wow. Yes, we do.
She's so hot.
She's a beautiful woman.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know what he needs. I guess he needs, yeah, he needs a family. He needs purpose. He leads a lot by like looking out for his colonial brothers when they're being mistreated by the British. So I don't know, man. Maybe that is part of the struggle of the movie. Like I don't really know what he needs by the end of the story. I guess, like I said, he wants the woman at some point, and maybe that's his new need.
And I think that's why it bothers me so much. Is that like, I feel like in most movies that I like, just going like Lord of the Rings, for example, like Aragorn's my favorite character.
Yeah.
He's not my favorite character because he gets with the girl at the end.
Yeah.
That's a bonus.
Yeah.
It's very cool that she's there, and I'm really happy for him.
Yeah, and he definitely is worthy of it.
But I like him because he's a great leader. He never gives up, and he is extremely badass.
Yeah.
The whole time, he's just doing things for other people, selflessly, great leader, and he is incredibly masculine.
Yeah, and he's on the front lines.
Yeah.
He's not giving orders, sitting up in an office somewhere.
Exactly. He's not shirking the fight. He's getting his hands dirty.
And by example.
And the very final scene where like, dude, it's like the best scene in any movie. He is in the front. He is about to become the king if Frodo gets the ring into Mordor. Like, if he just stayed in the back, he could probably become the king. He doesn't know, but he just runs by himself, he says, for Frodo.
Yeah.
And runs in there. He is literally expecting to die. But he
just to give Frodo a chance. Maybe.
Just to be selflessly sacrificed for the betterment of everyone else. It's like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, that's a great scene.
Such a good scene. And then at the end, oh, the girl's here. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
If the whole movie was like, well, I'm going to ditch my friends and go hang out with this girl, I don't like Aragorn for that.
Sure.
And that's why I have a hard time with Nathaniel, because what is his purpose besides getting Korra?
I don't see any that I can think of, really, honestly. And
I don't know. Like, I want a girlfriend. I want a wife. I want a Korra. We all do. She's freaking hot. And she's great. Right?
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want that? But that can't be like the only thing in a good story.
Yeah. She's respectful, loyal, hardworking, serving to others in the fort. Yeah. What more can you ask for?
Yeah. Better story. That's what I'm asking for.
All right, I'm going to throw out a few things that I liked from the movie. There's a few lines I like from the movie. One of them is early on when after they saved the girls and the British officer Duncan, they're marching and walking like, we're going to take you to the fort. If that's where you're headed, we'll help you get there. And the officer is questioning him like, so like, where are you posted? Where are you going? Are you going to the fort? He's like, no. He's like, oh, you're going to this other fort then? Is that where you're stationed? And he's like, no. He's like, I'm headed west. And the British officer, like from the very beginning of when he's introduced, he's like looking down on the colonials, like he's very superior to them. They are his subjects, and they're subjects to the king in Britain. And he's like, there's a war going on. How is it that you are headed west? And Nathaniel turns around and looks at him, kind of, dead eyes him. And he's like, well, we point to the north and real subtle, like, turn left. I just thought that was kind of funny line, because the guy's like very serious, right? In this moment, like, how are you going west? There's a war. He's like, well, we just point ourselves to the north and turn left.
I actually didn't catch that line.
Oh, well,
that's fun.
Yeah, that's a good line. So stuff like that was fun. Obviously the fighting, like you've mentioned already, very brutal and very like realistic looking. There's not a lot of like big cuts. Sometimes the battle shots are really wide and people are just jacking each other. Sometimes it is kind of like a handheld moving in there and scalps are getting taken and things. So, I mean, I'm not a big fan of like heavy violence or graphic things. I really don't. Like, if this movie's too graphic for me.
I actually agree with that.
But I think they did a very good job with it, and it's not like it's not in a way where they're trying to make it like sometimes the gore these days is like it's like how gory can we get just for like people like almost like it. And this movie's like, no, we're just trying to show you the brutality and reality of the situation here. Like this is what really is going on if you're in this time period. It's like you could get stabbed with a knife over and over again and your scalp taken off.
Yeah.
Or you could get hit in the back with a tomahawk and then beat to death with a club. And so I think that like again, like also with like Saving Private Ryan, just showing the reality of war is like what they're going for, and
Yeah.
they definitely accomplish it. I thought the acting performances were great. I liked, yeah, the subplot of the colonials, just the idea that they're there trying to eke out a life just so they can be free, just speaks so America to me.
That was the part that was interesting me the most too, because it was a cool contrast to see these Americans, quote unquote,
Right.
talking about being loyal to the crown still. And that interesting balancing act between like, are we American? Are we British? What exactly are we?
Yeah, should we be obeying this law if we're not going to be treated like as equals?
That was my favorite. That was the point of the movie that I was like, please follow this line. Like I would love it if this was the line of the movie, that they could have this whole debate go on. So I wanted that.
Your version of the movie is he leads a revolt. Once it gets to the fort scene, Nathaniel leads a revolt, and it becomes like almost like the embers of America being born.
Yeah.
Where people are like, no, we're not being subject to Britain anymore.
Exactly. They're like, we get that we have to fight off the French, but we're not your allies either.
Right. That setting aside like changing this movie, that could be a cool story, right? Where it's like you're part of an overlord and you're fighting with them to fight another people, but like by the end of it it's like no, like we may be fighting with you, but we're not friends anymore.
Yeah.
Because like you have not dealt squarely with us, and we're going to do our own thing.
Yeah.
And like you build yourself up to the point where it's like by the end of it, like they can't stop you when you say that to them too.
Yeah, and that's what happened in the American Revolution.
Right.
What's really interesting, and I don't think a lot of Americans or anyone understands this, is that so many of Americans in the 1770s were actually loyal to the crown. They still viewed themselves as British citizens.
Sure.
When the whole idea of a revolution came out, it was extremely unpopular at first.
Right.
How are we going to rebel against the crown? We're their subjects.
Right.
That was like that was a common argument. Like, we need the monarchy. What are we going to do without the king? So there actually had to be real persuasion, real convincing of people, and real tragedy to occur for people to actually want to switch sides. And the Boston Massacre was one of those massive events that was like, maybe these British guys aren't so good. But it took decades of being oppressed in America by the British Empire for the Americans to actually start to see themselves as unique. And I don't know of a movie that really talks about those specific things, because like The Patriot, those embers are already pretty hot. Like the British are already fighting the Americans basically.
Right. That movie kind of starts like pretty much everyone's on board with rebelling with America.
But that's not how it was. Like,
yeah, John Adams I think does the show. We watched some of it, did we?
No, I haven't seen it.
Have you seen the HBO show John Adams?
No.
Oh man, you got to watch it.
Bro, that sounds great.
Yeah, we'll have to check that out.
But I would have loved if they'd mined that vein, but they didn't. Turned into a freaking hippie romance.
Hippie romance? Is that because he doesn't bait? Is that a pun?
He's a freaking... Never mind.
I don't want to hear it. I don't know what you're going to say. I guess we're going long enough here anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
I think this is going to be interesting because I think you're going to ruffle a lot of feathers with your scoring tonight.
I will.
And I will just say this in kind of closing thoughts, and I'll let you score it out. I think it's beautifully shot, visually stunning, compelling visually too, because I feel like this is real. I'm here. This is a real time period. I never get pulled out of the movie, not once, as far as production goes. Acting is great. Trying to think what else. Music's great music. Yeah, like I think Dan does make a fair point where it kind of gets repetitive. Story wise, yeah, I think you're right. I might not have never noticed this before, but I think it is lacking on like that third act of story where, in that vein, kind of runs back to the first act. Is what does our protagonist want and what does he need, and does he, I don't really know that it's there. And maybe if you're in the audience listening and you think I'm just blind or stupid or we're both blind or missing something, shout it out.
I am wearing glasses, so that
because I think he makes a fair point. I think story-wise there is something missing here. And this is kind of funny though, because I say that about other movies and I get disagreed with, like Rogue One. But
there's so much story in that. What are you talking about?
We'll get to that another time.
Is so
We're gonna
clear.
watch that. No, but the characters, what they want, nobody knows what they want because they don't want anything. Anyway, we'll get to that another time. Dan, why don't you just go ahead and score us out here? What's your score for the movie?
I give it a 6.
Okay.
I can't give it anything lower than a 6 because of all the things that Bo mentions about it being well shot, it being iconic, the costumes being like well done, the action scenes are incredible. Like I would rewatch those absolutely. But for me, a movie is about a story, and the story has to be compelling, interesting, and unique. And I thought the story was boring, unoriginal, and I don't know, like wandering, I guess. It felt like there was no clear thing that Nathaniel wanted, and it was hard for me to connect with him. So I think a 6 is actually being generous.
All right.
That's the worst I've scored a movie so far.
Yeah.
Literally, what is it called? Galaxy Quest got a higher one than Last of the Mohicans. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's wild.
And I actually will stick by that. I enjoyed Galaxy Quest more than Last of the Mohicans.
Yeah. Well,
I think I would enjoy Attack of the Clones more than Last of the Mohicans.
wow. Really?
Yeah.
Okay, enjoy it, but you can enjoy things. I enjoy things that aren't good. Like you can enjoy a McDouble or something, but that doesn't mean it's good, right? So like, that's a different thing than like, is this a 4-star movie? Is this a 3-star movie? Is this a 2-star movie? Is this a 5-star movie?
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean?
I get what you're saying.
Like you may not like the Mona Lisa, but that doesn't mean it's not a 10-star painting.
For what it is, right?
So,
for it being made in 92, that's obvious.
That's obvious.
But that's not a bad. It's not a bad thing. Like I like the filmmaking in the 90s. I think it was good. But yeah, that's my rating. Take it or leave it.
I think after rewatching it after years of not seeing it, and I've seen this movie a lot of times. Visually, I think it's probably almost like a 5 out of 5. But it does lack in that story. And so how much does that bring it down for me? Part of me and part of the during the movie, like when I was watching the visuals, like early on, I was like, holy crap, this might be like, a 9 out of 10 movie that I was like getting ready to give it just because I was like enthralled with the visuals and the cinematography and the time period. But then as the movie went on and on, talking about the story and thinking about the story. So again, it's like, is it a McDouble or is it a Mona Lisa? It's definitely not a McDouble, even story, because
it's a McMona.
McMona. I think I'm gonna go with an 8 for this movie.
Okay.
I think the visuals, storytelling, and production value just carry it. The story is, a man that wants a woman is very, what would you say? Anti-authoritarian, and rebels and just wants to live free. And that speaks to me. I like that, and I like those things about him, but it could be more compelling. That's why it's not a 5 out of 5 stars for me.
Well, your opinion is officially canceled. I do understand that I'm in the minority here. Just looking at the reviews, people love this movie. And it
doesn't have a very high score.
And I get why.
88.
I mean, 88's pretty good.
Roger Ebert give it a 3 out of 4.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I get why people like it. Not for me, though. I would not recommend it to like anyone as a good movie. I think that if somebody really wanted a movie about like colonial America and they just kind of want to sit back and just like enjoy something that's fun to watch,
I think I would recommend it to a lot of people. If you're a movie lover, definitely need to see this movie. I think visually it's just stunning. Your average Joe, they might not love this movie. They might just be like, that was okay.
I actually disagree. I think the average Joe would like this one.
Why do you say that?
Because it doesn't require a lot of thinking.
Okay.
It's just like, oh, there's a lot of war. Oh, he gets the girl. Yay, happy ending.
You're saying that simplistic mind of
Yeah.
like people that don't like to think about
Yeah.
stories.
You literally, I've asked so many people what they like about movies, and they're like, I just like to kind of turn my brain off. And I just want to like enjoy the movie. And like, we were talking about this at work the other day. I was giving a bunch of critiques as to like why I didn't like certain movies, and I was giving specific things. And of course, this always happens when I do this. I just get asked, well, don't you ever just watch a movie just to enjoy it? Like, that's how you enjoy a movie, is you think about it. But I'm telling you, Bo, there are so many people who just sit there and they just quote unquote enjoy the film.
Yeah, or turn your brain off.
Yeah. That is a massive audience. That's a huge audience.
Well, that wraps us up. See you at the concession stand.
Adios.
Turn your brain off. I'm trying to think if there's anything that I do in my life where like that's what I'm doing. Maybe like reels, maybe?
Yeah.
Like, but not like movies. I watch movies because I want a good story.
Yes. Yes.
Good visuals, like it's told well with the visuals.
And you want to think about something.
Yeah, and I want to feel something too.
Yeah.